Awareness is omniscient and timeless. It's omniscient and timeless. So timeless means that any idea of there being someone who's going somewhere within time and space is naturally non-occurring. We already are timeless. We only learn that we're constricted and constrained by time and space. But all the while, our awakened awareness is fundamentally, primordially, and totally free as that which is completely timeless and omniscient. And that timeless omniscience that is the true reality of what every human being is already accomplished, already present, does not need to be sought or attained. There's nothing that need be done. Entirely effortless in nature, completely effortless and already free, already real, already the totality of everything a human being is and nothing else. Only known through uncontrived natural rest. Once in a great while, this realization may occur in its completeness that is totally beyond causality at the end of a very long practice. But if that practice always led to enlightenment, it would always lead to enlightenment for everyone. So, when we really are interested in enlightenment, it's very important for us to adopt a practice that we know has worked for the most people. That's really important. It's just like if we wanted to buy a car, name a car that never worked and they stopped selling it. Hudson, okay. The Edsel, okay. The Edsel, that was made by Ford, and it just didn't sell. It didn't work. Nobody wanted it. So now say you want to find the best car there is to drive, and you talk to people and they owned an Edsel, and they said, well, this Edsel, it just didn't work at all, It didn't work. I had to take it back. And, eventually Ford ended up not selling it anymore. Well, you wouldn't go out and buy an Edsel. You wouldn't. Do you get the parallel here? You'd want to talk to people who own cars that really worked well, like Toyotas or Hondas. You'd talk to the many, many people who had purchased a car that worked, that lasted a long time, that didn't cost a lot of money to keep up, and that you could really rely on. So the same is true when it comes to what is more important than anything for every human being, and that is the great reality of what we are. The great reality of what we are can't be confined into anything called spirituality, religion, philosophy, psychology, quantum physics, string theory, or anything else. It can't be categorized. As I said earlier, if we looked really in a very discerning way, but using only elementary discernment, we could see that the greatest commonality of what enlightenment is being human. So why not look there? Why not look to what is common to each of us as human beings and indivisible? So that which is common to all of us as human beings, each of us as human beings, but is also indivisible, is all-inclusive awakened awareness with nothing left out. There isn't a single human being anywhere who can say, I am not aware. Not one. And for every single one of those human beings, their indivisible awareness that completely unites all human beings and all beings altogether is timelessly present, completely undivided, has never been split or fragmented in any kind of way. In it, no division or exclusion or differentiation has ever occurred. So when we just rest naturally, the obviousness of that natural presence of awareness comes more and more into being. And if you don't want to rest naturally, if that's too much of a practice for you, then don't. Just keep showing up here and conviction will dawn. Or maybe you just showed up here for the first time today and conviction has already dawned. Or maybe you came in the door and conviction had already dawned before that. I don't know. But whatever it is, it is. It's already accomplished. It's already accomplished. You see, the moment we say that enlightenment is a destination and there's someone going there, then we have a teaching of non-duality. And there are many teachings or we have a teaching of duality, rather. If a teaching is called a teaching of non-duality, but it posits that there is someone who needs to be fixed. In other words, it takes the position that there is a personal somebody who needs to be fixed, then it really is a teaching of duality. Now, teachings of duality can lead to the non-dual perspective. Even the great religions and traditions that are considered to be dualistic, their epitome teaching is always non-dual in perspective, whether it's the union with God of Christianity or whatever it is. So there's no getting out of it. That's what I'm trying to say. You can't get out of awakened awareness even if you try. There's no thought you can ever have, no bodily sensation you can ever have, no emotional state you can ever have that can make you into something other than awakened awareness. It's impossible. There's nothing that can be done, nothing that can be said, nothing that can be thought, nothing that can be felt, nothing that can be conducted or experienced. In other words, nothing one can do that separates one out from awakened awareness. If there were something someone could do that would separate them out from awakened awareness, then people who are on death row in prison for murder and mayhem would not be able to wake up. Do you see what I'm saying? If it was circumstance dependent and required only certain kinds of behaviors, then it would be impossible that this could ever occur. Well, maybe if I've never met you before, you're wondering, well, how did she come up with all this? Where did all this come from? I've heard this before, but maybe not exactly in this way. Well, the reason that I am so certain about this is that I didn't do anything to come to the realization of realizing who I have always been. I didn't do anything. I didn't even know enlightenment was possible. I had no idea whatsoever. Or awakening, or I had heard the term awakening, but I just thought it meant something like born again. Being a born-again Christian. And so I thought that was probably what awakening was. And so I lived a life in Western culture as an American girl and woman, and I went on with my life trying to be a successful American, doing all the right things that I had been told would make me feel like an adult and make me feel successful when I grew up. And then I grew up, I got to be an adult, and I still didn't feel like an adult. And no matter how much doing I did, I didn't feel successful. And I went to great lengths with my doing. I really went to great lengths with my doing. I was going for the gusto. I wanted it all. I wanted to achieve permanent satisfaction and fulfillment and happiness through doing and accomplishment. And so I did everything that it was suggested that I do by my family and culture. I went to school, I married a wonderful man and a successful man. I had a couple children, and I had a career too. It wasn't all that common. And, when I was in my early 20s, and I got involved in the community and did all kinds of community volunteer work. I joined all kinds of clubs. I was even active on the international level in a number of ways. I was named one of the outstanding young women in America. So doing, making myself into a good person. But no matter how much doing I did, I never reached this state I was going for. Permanent satisfaction, fulfillment, and happiness. It always eluded me. No matter how much doing I did, there was always more doing to be done. And this came, part of this that came along with me was my spiritual practice of Catholicism, because I had prayed from the beginning of my life. The first words that came out of my mouth were a prayer. That's true of everyone, by the way. No matter what the word is, it's a prayer. And so all of these things I felt had failed me completely in reaching my goal. I just hadn't reached my goal, but I didn't know what to do. I suddenly was faced with all these thoughts, feelings, emotional states, sensations, circumstances that were beyond any of my capacity to do anything about them. In other words, all of the things I'd cooked up that I thought would work to make me feel complete, to make me feel satisfied, fulfilled, done, an adult, where the doing would come to an end and there would just be this. It never happened. It just never happened at all. So in the maelstrom of all of this tsunami of points of view going on within me, I felt hopeless and powerless. But, you know, I also felt angry. I felt angry. I thought, wow, you know, all this has failed me. I've worked so hard, and I've never felt like I've quite made it. In fact, the more I do, the more I see that there is to do. The more I try to be a good mother, the less I feel like a good mother, and the more books I'm trying to read to find out how to be a good mother. Or whatever it might be, wife, worker, whatever. And so there I was, and there I was with this great swirling, you know, like a 10,000-foot tsunami, something that can't be avoided, in other words. If you see a 10,000-foot tsunami coming, you won't be able to avoid it, by the way. There'll be no way to avoid it. And this is the situation I was in. And so I knew not what to do, and as I felt hopeless, powerless, bewildered, desperate, and angry, suddenly it occurred to me that no matter what I was thinking, feeling, sensing, all the people, places, and things, all the circumstances, that every single one of them, whether they were gross and mundane, pedestrian, or exalted, sublime, divine, and joyous and wonderful, that no matter what the point of view happened to be, that they all had an underlying basis that was the same underlying basis, that they all were the dynamic energy of something that I experienced only as complete relief. I didn't know what to call it. I'd never been to a meeting like this or met a guru or anything else. And so when all of this dynamic energy, a point of view would appear, I'd just rest naturally without seeking anything. And that I didn't sit and do that. Whatever was going on in my life as the dynamic energy appeared that I had believed in and taken to be myself, as all these points of view came up that I had taken to be myself, I rested naturally. Rested naturally, not separate from them, as them, but understanding for the first time that their origin, their only origin, in other words, no point of view has an independent origin of this complete relief, that their origin, essence, and nature is relief. Their essence is relief. Their nature is relief. Their origin is relief, no matter what the point of view. And as I would rest just as some points of view, then many points of view all of a sudden would resolve in this relief. And as the points of view resolved in this relief, I felt this incredible warmth of compassion arise in me. Just total and complete compassion, an actual felt sense of warmth arising that was complete in itself and that couldn't be turned off. So even if I wanted to turn it off, it would be impossible to turn it off. Compassion, bliss, love, all naturally occurring, wisdom, naturally occurring, already present. Already present is the reality of complete relief. And after just 10 days of that, all of a sudden, I realized that's who I'd always been. I'd always been complete relief. And there were many things I thought of. You know, the first thing I said was, wow. And I must have said that 1,000 times at first. Wow. 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 Here I've been working so hard. I've been working so hard to be somebody when all the while, this essence of being is already present. It's already present, and it always has been present. It was just as though I was looking this way and suddenly I looked that way. There was an entirely different vista. But it was so clear that it had already been present, and just huge laughter. And I could see that every point of view that I'd ever had was already complete relief, that it was already complete relief, that I'd never had to do anything about it, and that all the doing that I felt I needed to get done, to be somebody good, to be somebody who could be nice to other people, that all that doing had already been done. And that there was no doing to do and no doer to do it. You know, that then I saw that this personal identity I had taken myself to be an agent of everything, that all it was this aware basic space of total relief and nothing else. That's all it was. And that it wasn't some kind of container for all the points of view, but it was just another point of view equal to any other point of view, and that I very seldom had that point of view. I am somebody. Hey, I'm somebody. I'm really somebody. Very seldom does that point of view occur. So you see, when we have an assumption that there's somebody who's here all the time, a personal identity or agent who's always present, that's just a point of view too. So you see, no matter where you turn, there's only pure space and nothing else.